This episode is brought to you by Maestro Sausage, the only sausage we use at Hot Tongue. They produce sausages specifically with pizzerias in mind, and you can tell. So if your sausage isn't hitting all the right notes, let Maestro lead the way. Let's get down to business, okay? And that business is, well, first of all, it's pie to pie, and we're bringing it to you. But the real business is George Taylor from George Taylor's Pizza out there in New York. My guy George, also a U.S. Pizza team member and has a long history in the corporate world. I'm talking Burger King. I'm talking Arby's. I'm talking Taco Bell. I'm talking about all the best restaurants. Taco Bell, if you know me, is easily top 3. Again, why I can't call myself a chef. Okay, George has been doing this since 1995, making pizzas. He's had 3 different shops and now sits it's George Taylor's Pizza House. Taylor's Pizza House, excuse me. And it's literally a house that they built into a restaurant. We talk about that build out. We talk about George's history through the years, which is crazy because he started at Burger King fresh out of college. He might have still been going to college, but he's got a long history in fast casual restaurants. We talk about how that has helped him through his journey and, just the different steps along the way and the different pizzerias and the places that he's been in. We talk about the struggles with buying one of his first buildings, having roof issues, what happened with other landlords, and where he sits today. George is an incredible competitor. I've competed against him and lost many times. He just made one of the most badass gluten-free pizzas I've ever seen. We talked so much, we didn't even get to talk about competition, but him and his wife, Patty, are always there on the competition floor, always making great pizza. George also wrote a book, which everyone needs to go buy right now on Amazon. It's $14.95, and it's called A Pizza My Life by George Taylor. George, thank you for making the time, coming by here early in the morning and talking shop with me. I appreciate you. It's another U.S. Pizza team member that I'm so excited that I've gotten to know better and compete alongside and learn alongside and laugh about the industry. George really touches on a labor crisis and minimum wage. He has a lot of great things to say. These episodes are always packed with great information, and George really lays it down. George loves the Beatles. On paper, logistically, yes, maybe the greatest band of all time, but he's also an avid fan of Dave Grohl, the godfather of rock and roll as we know him. Come on, starts in as the drummer of Nirvana, goes on to be a stadium sellout Foo Fighter. We appreciate you, George Taylor, just like we appreciate Dave Grohl for rocking that one tour in a wheelchair. That's rock and roll. And that's what we do in this industry. We always get up. We always show up. George, thank you. Enjoy this episode. George Taylor of Taylor's Pizza House. Let's go. MailWise Solutions takes advertising to the next level. They design, print, and direct mail, menus, flyers, and postcards for pizzerias all across the United States. I've worked with MailWise before. I tried to design my own menu, and Kevin said, hey, give me a stab at this, and holy shit. When he sent me back the menu, I was like, I thought I was okay at what I did, and his design team blew me away. There's no mailing contracts, so you're free to advertise on your own schedule. Click the link in the show notes or request a sample pack at mailwisesolutions.com. Let's get you some new customers today. Is that where you grew up in?
No.
New York?
Yeah, I'm in New York.
Yeah, no, I know. Is that where you, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, roughly.
Yeah?
Born in Virginia, moved to Lincoln, Nebraska. My whole family's from Nebraska. But then my dad moved with IBM to Endicott when I was, 6, 5, whatever.
Yeah.
And been there pretty much ever since, except for a little 4-year stint where we closed our first shop after 20 years and moved down to North Carolina, went to work for corporate Taco Bell for a little over a year, and then went up to Southern Maryland, and I worked as a district manager for Arby's.
So you closed down your first shop of 20 years.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
We had a building that was...
and was this Taylor's Neighborhood Pizza?
No.
Was that different?
No. So I'll give you the
Let's
short
go.
version.
Give me the long version. We got time.
The long version. We got time.
We got time.
So even our first business was called Fresh Hot Pizza.
All you. No partners.
FRESCHOTT Pizza. Made it look like a name, but really just wanted to be able to say Fresh Hot Pizza when we answered the phone.
Very
you
nice,
know, so.
Very nice.
Yeah, but people just didn't get it. They called it Frescots, and so
Yes.
putting that C in there fucked a lot of people up. And what can you do? So we started that back in '95, and after 3 years at our first location there, the landlord decided he wanted to sell the building and didn't want to renew our lease. So we moved down to a plaza. And we were there for 3 years, and the rent just kept going, chung, 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 and we're like, well, I gotta get the hell out of here. So we bought a building in downtown Johnson City, which is all Johnson City, Binghamton, Endwell, Endicott. There's all these little, just kind of like, here, except much smaller,
Yeah.
Hold on a second. They gotta, see, okay, nothing important. Gotta make sure sometimes, things are going on.
Yes.
But so then we moved the second time, in 6 years to a downtown area. We bought a 3-story building, inline, row building right in downtown. I didn't want to be a landlord, so I didn't rent out the 2 floors above me. We had put a new roof on when we bought it, remodeled the whole basement into a really nice, restaurant. And apparently after 4 years, the roof started leaking. And I would have never thought that. And we just didn't go up there. We didn't need to be. We didn't have any tenants. We didn't use it because the place was huge anyway. We had a basement for storage. We had like almost 2,000 square feet of basement storage too. So we didn't. There's no really ever any need to. So by the time we started going up there and realizing that, holy shit, and I went up on the roof after I started seeing the leak stuff, and it had looked like a bomb went off on the roof. It was a flat roof. We had put roll shingle on it, and it just disintegrated.
Yeah.
And there was probably $100,000 worth of work that needed to be done to repair the building and start to have plumbing issues because of everything. And so we decided, well, let's go get jobs. Yeah. So after 20 years, we decided to move to North Carolina.
But so was that all just you? Did you have partners?
Me and my wife.
You and your wife had
yeah.
always been doing that.
Yeah.
So what, you decided to sell that building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did
you take a loss on that building?
No, we actually, it was cheap. We bought it for $22,000 and we sold it for $22,000.
Oh, okay.
The unfortunate part is in New York State, the taxes really suck. And in the 13 years we were at that location, we paid $98,000 in taxes for the $22,000 building.
Yeah. Wow.
It's kind of stupid,
How long were you in that building that you owned? How long were you in the building you owned?
14, 15 years.
Okay, so you got some good years out of it.
Yeah, we did.
And let's rewind too. How did you decide you wanted to open up a pizza joint? What were you and your wife were already married when you decided you wanted to do that?
Yes. So rewind a little farther. We met at Burger King.
Hell yeah.
We were both Burger King employees, and I moved up through the ranks there. She actually started at Burger King, just as a crew person, like a year before I did. But when I got there, I started, moving up through the ranks, because the reason I got there was because I knew all the managers. I bowled with them and played softball with them. And then one of them, just after some drinking one night, hey, you want some extra money? I was still in college. He's like, want some extra beer money? I'm like, hell yeah. So got into that and realized I liked the industry. Mm-hmm. Sold that, or not sold. Yeah, I sold Burger King. No, left Burger King after about 8 years I had an opportunity to buy a taco franchise called Taco Maker. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Mm-mm. It was originally based in Utah, and it was a New York, or not New York, U.S.-based company, mm-hmm. and that they had stores. It was like a Taco Bell, but a little bit different, but maybe a little bit more upscale than Taco Bell, but not much. Still. In our area, I think there was like 8 of them. And I had the opportunity to buy one that was in a food court in a small downtown mall. New York State, in its infinite wisdom, as they always have, California has a lot of wisdom too, I guess. Yeah.
Plenty of wisdom
And
here.
so they decided to ban smoking only in malls. And so being that this was in downtown, now instead, if you got, 10 women in an office that are going to lunch together, 2 of them smoke, they're going now instead of, well, we can't smoke here, so let's go to any one of the 100 restaurants that are out on the main street.
Yeah.
We just have to go outside the doors of the inside of the mall, and go out to any of the, because they're not in the mall, so we can smoke at them, so we're going to go to them. It literally just crushed the business of that food court. It's now just offices. Like,
It's
anyway,
crazy that was the thing.
I was when I left Burger King, I was hired, because I was interested in it, and so they gave me a deal where they hired me for 1 year, at a pretty decent salary for back then, and I had the option to purchase it at the end of the year, and they would hold the note. Pretty good deal, right?
Yeah.
So, but once that happened mid-year and the sales just went, whoa, and that place could never make money ever again, I said, no, thank you. They closed it. I went to sell cars for 3-4 years at a car dealership. Well, I saved up money, bought our first place. And then we started that progression.
Did selling cars help you sell pizza?
No.
Not at all?
No. It was just, I'm an outgoing person.
Yeah.
I enjoy having fun talking to
Did
people.
you like selling cars?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I did not like the bureaucracy of the
Like loan system or like?
bosses.
Yeah.
And it's just, having people that, I've been in management, obviously I was a Burger King manager for 8 years. And,
Yeah.
And so like they couldn't even handle things like scheduling. And their egos are such that, because they all come from being, great car salesmen and they get promoted, great salespeople do not necessarily make great managers. Just like a great pizza maker does not necessarily make a great manager.
Of course.
So
Not everyone's a leader.
that's right. And when, they tell us, okay, everybody's going to work 5 days and everybody's going to have, Sundays plus 1 day off, Monday through Saturday, and you have to work one night, but they had no idea how to accomplish it. So it's time to our next day, we come to work. We're like, what's our schedule? Well, we haven't got it yet, but we'll have it. So now you don't know when you're working. And so finally, I went to our business manager, who was closer to my age. The other guys were all 10 years older than me, 15 years older than me. And it's like I went and I said, listen, this is a line schedule. This is how it works. You draw what your goal is for people on these things. You want somebody from 5 to 8, blah, blah, blah. And then you blop in the names, and each person gets 5 shifts and one night. So you fill in their nights first, so they're all covered. 5 nights are covered, and you're blah 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 blah. And I said, take it to the GM and the sales manager. Tell him it's your idea, because he's the business manager, so he's in their group, And I said, this is how it works. It's easy. You guys fill in the names, blah 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 blah. Just do it. Tell them it's your idea. Don't tell them for me, because if they found out it was for me, they would have never used it. Next thing I know, he comes out, oh, okay, so here, they'll come out like they had this great idea how to schedule this, and I'm like, this is so funny.
Well, that's kind of how you got to do it. I purchased a Gosney Arc XL recently, and the bake has been so consistent. The bottom heat of the oven and the actual arc just cooks the crust to a caramelized perfection. There is no other oven, in my opinion, out right now that is going to give you these same results. Whether you are in need of a new oven for your pop-up, or your dad's asking you, what is the best oven to make some homemade pizzas? Use our affiliate link down in the show notes. Smash the link. It helps the podcast. And more importantly, it helps you.
I had an opportunity. I also had my real estate license, and so I had mentioned to the guy that I work with, the broker that I work with, I said, I just want to get up enough money and maybe get back into the restaurant, because I really enjoyed that. I didn't like sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah.
And
definitely a different pace.
So he happened to be having lunch at a little, Italian pizzeria. This little old lady, she was probably in her 60s. She had really made it for her son, but her son really just wanted to hang out with his friends and smoke pot in the front of it.
Respect.
And probably sell drugs.
Nice. Like
so
most
she was
pizza
like,
shop owners.
I want to be out of this. And he's like, oh, I have a friend to be in it. Would you be interested in carrying the note? She goes, I'll do anything to get out of this thing. I think it only cost us like 15 grand, and we paid it off after like a year and a half.
You bought that building too.
We didn't buy the building. We just bought the business.
Lease. You bought the lease in the building.
That was
the key money.
That was the one that after the 3 years, we met with them the first time. They gave us a 3-year lease, and after that 3 years, though, they decided they wanted to sell the building. So we had to move, and because they wouldn't renew anything.
Why North Carolina?
Taxes.
Yeah, I mean,
our property house. Between our home and our business, we were paying almost $16,000 a year in property taxes.
Yeah.
Same properties down in North Carolina would have been $1,200.
Yeah. Well, I understand that.
And at that point in time, I had an opportunity to go out to Indianapolis to be a DM for a big Pizza Hut, like a 300-unit Pizza Hut franchise, and then take over as regional manager. But my dad had cancer at the same time, just before that, and so we drove out to Indianapolis. We surveyed it, and I looked, and the stores were going to take it was going to be a 7-day-a-week job. And I called the guy up, the guy that had given me that opportunity was a guy that I worked for at Taco Bell corporate. He was a regional VP at Taco Bell, and I just told him, I said, I can't honestly do this right now. I said, because I at least need to go back every once or every other week to and it's an 11-hour drive.
Yeah.
And I can't spend the whole time doing that. And when those stores need to be right now, they need to be watched. And that's the reason he was there, is because I guess this franchisee was told, if you don't straighten these stores out, you're going to lose your franchise license on all 300 stores.
Yeah.
And so he hired the guy that I used to work for to come in and fix that stuff. And he knew that I was in pizza before and could do, help with that. And I was just like, yeah, no, I can't. I mean, they were just way understaffed. They were expecting crazy things out of, people with no experience.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, this is going to take a long time to fix. And I don't have a long time right now. I got to be, checking on dad and stuff like that. So no job, no nothing. Decided to move back to Kendicon. We're like, all right, what do we do now? Let's open a little pizza shop.
Yeah.
So we found a little building that was like, $650 rent, 1,200 square feet.
That's tight.
Make it a takeout only, built the whole thing, and bought everything. And, we bought a lot of, new stuff. There was a company in Maryland that we used to buy stuff from Arby's that I knew was like a scratch and dent store. And I got some really good deals on some brand new equipment that had some ding that they would never even see. Put the whole thing together and opened up as Taylor's Neighborhood Pizza and Sandwich Shop. 5-year lease, squirrely landlord, a lot of issues, as I was telling you about. And so when the 5 years came, about 4 years in, this building that was a house that was just down the street from us opened up for sale. We looked at it one time, and the price was a little too high. And we're like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we could make it work. Maybe, I don't know. But it's really kind of out of our range anyway. So I just really didn't think much of it.
But you looked at this house. Was it zoned for commercial business?
It's neighborhood commercial.
Okay, because it's like literally a house.
Yeah. And it is, like I said, it's in a neighborhood,
Yeah.
I mean, so it's
like it's just a house.
It's like on a main drag, but of a neighborhood.
Of course.
And so you got houses, and then a business, and then houses, and then a business, along the street. So the second time they dropped the price by about 30 grand. So it's like, maybe we ought to go take a look at this again, and look at it. Started saying, I think we can make this work, and we can, turn it into a dining room here. And the plans changed a bunch of different times as far as where we're going to actually put the kitchen versus, the dining room and bar.
Yeah.
And in the long end of it, we came through it and got it done and moved it over and changed the name to Taylor's Pizza House, because it's a house.
Yeah.
And it just makes sense, and it's a little easier. And then here we are.
Well, first question.
Trick question.
Is out of working for Arby's, Burger King, and Taco Bell, who was the best one to work for?
I had decent people that I worked for each time. So they were all good in their own way.
Yeah.
I learned the most from Burger King, which was actually Carroll's Corporation. They were the largest franchisee of Burger King, which just sold back to Burger King about 6 months ago.
Oh, crazy.
And there used to be a place called Carroll's Hamburgers. And then, they kind of decided to switch theirs all over to Burger King franchises back, in the 70s, early 80s. I learned the most from them. They held their managers accountable for things like the P&L. A lot of franchisees and stuff like that. They don't want their managers knowing their financial business, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So they don't teach them those things. But Carol's taught us everything. That's where I learned about P&Ls and scheduling and everything. I mean, you ran that store. You were, everything about it.
So they were kind of coming from a mom and pop. Because
No,
Carol's
they're big. Yeah, I mean, they're Carol's. Eventually, when Carol's shifted their stores over to Burger King, eventually they had, I want to say 1,200 stores.
Okay.
So they had bought, they bought other smaller groups out over the time. But when they were Carol's Burgers, I think they may have had like 300.
Okay.
Maybe it was only 150. I'm not sure of the numbers there, but they had a lot of stores. So I wouldn't really call it mom and pop.
Yeah.
But they. Like I said, they grew. They're based out of Syracuse.
Okay.
And so I learned the most from them. Taco Bell was probably the hardest. I was at that point a 50-year-old trying to make tacos fast, and and after working for myself for 20 years. But luckily, I mean, the DM that I had, she was or the area coach they call it there. She pretty much left me alone. She knew that I knew what I was doing and took it. I mean, when I first took that job, they're like, okay, it's going to be a 6 to 8 week training period, for management like that. And I'm like, what do you mean 6 to 8 weeks? I say 3 days. Show me how to make tacos and give me the keys, that. And when I got there and started doing it, I felt like I got punched in the face.
Really?
It was so much that I forgot about, the
dude.
Corporate world and how all those things work, that I was just like, wow, I forgot about all this stuff, man. And I just, and then, they started mandating things like, now the GM has to work every Tuesday night, closing till inventory. My store is open till 4:00 in the morning, and I live 40 minutes away. And then they started saying, well, now, okay, we're going to have our weekly managers meeting or, general managers meeting on Wednesdays. So if you didn't want to burn a day off having to go to your general managers meeting, that meant you're going to work days, which means you had to be back at your store by the time you get home it's 6:30, and then you got to be back in your store by 8. So you got to leave at, 7:20 to get back. So it didn't leave much room for sleep.
Yeah, that sounds intense.
And it was when they were just starting breakfast, so the hours got earlier, and it was just like, it's like, why don't you people just stay open 24 hours a day? It's like, well, we can't because something, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they're open till 4:00 in the morning and reopening at 6. I mean,
yeah,
they're just exchanging highs as they are walking out, the closers and the openers, And then they started mandating they wanted the GMs to work every Sunday night. Again, like I said, I'm a 50-year-old guy, doing this, and that's like, you want me to stay until 4:00 in the morning, getting back up, and then coming back and staying again on Sunday nights 4:00. I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And that's when I started looking for something else. And I had a friend that was a district manager for an Arby's franchise.
Yeah.
We used to go on vacation with every year. And I said, hey, anybody that's looking for a district manager? She said, yeah, actually I do. And she had him call me and went up. And so I started working for them.
A lot of people don't, well, some people do, but like that transition of working for yourself for 20 years and then like having to have a boss again, like how tough was that transition? Was it easy to get back into it because you had worked for franchises before and kind of knew, but like
it was only, I had a great person that I was working for, and that's the only reason it worked.
Yeah.
If I had somebody that was a little obnoxious brat that wanted to, you need to do this, and they wanted to micromanage me, it wouldn't have worked. But I didn't have that. So that's exactly. It's all about luck.
With the house, when you What was the house prior? Was it somebody living in it?
No, all right. So just before we got it, it was a tax office.
Oh, right.
And just before, and the person that leased it to them had turned it into a chiropractor's office.
Okay.
Before that, it was a house. In fact, just after we opened, a lady that grew up in that house had come in for dinner, and she was just like looking around, and just like, I grew up here,
Yeah.
So it was pretty, like where our kitchen was. She was like, that was our back porch.
Well, I mean, it's literally a house. You
Yes.
look at it in pictures, you come in, it looks very homey. You have like a bar set up. The kitchen, I imagine, is in the back. I've only seen I tried to find as many pictures as I could, but you got
they're small.
Yeah, you got the
You
hood
just
back
look
there.
back
You got a
at it.
conveyor. Your other shop with like the red checkered floor it seemed like you had a bit more space for cooking.
So yeah, for cooking, because we
but
made
not
it.
much, so much dining in.
It's broken up differently, like obviously because the house with the rooms and all
Yeah.
that stuff, it's broken up. But they're really very similar in actual square footage of that particular floor.
Yeah.
It's just how we chose to use it. We wanted a dining room. So we put a prep kitchen in the basement. We do all our dough mixing, vegetable prep, all that stuff, dishwashing. That's all in the basement. So that's where we got the
Do you have
added
like a dumb
room.
waiter?
No,
You have to fucking take everything up the stairs?
Yeah,
Holy
because
shit.
the kitchen is actually was an addition to the house.
Okay.
So the basement doesn't go under that. So the basement only goes
Got
under
it.
the main Cape Cod part of the house.
And then you have an upstairs?
Yes, we have an
What's
upstairs.
upstairs?
As well, corporate offices.
Okay, you got offices.
Yeah, we have office space and we store all our boxes up there.
Okay.
So dry storage of the boxes.
If I were to try to do a build out in a house in Los Angeles, it would be a fucking nightmare. Was it hard getting permitting or doing anything? Like how long did the build out take?
So that was an interesting thing too. It could have ended up being a disaster because
If your sausage needs aren't hitting all the right notes, then let Maestro lead the way. Maestro has been working closely with pizzerias for decades. They produce sausages designed specifically with pizzerias in mind. And you can tell, their Italian sausage crumbles look like they were handmade in your shop, and they will taste that way as well. With over 80 years in business, family owned and operated, the family is incredible, and so is their product. It's quality sausage with quality ingredients. Click the link in the show notes. A classical masterpiece awaits you. Back to the show.
signed the contract, bought the building, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We hadn't gone through the process of, getting somebody to do the work. We thought, oh, well, maybe we could do a lot of the work ourselves and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And that's more of a hassle with permitting. They want, you have to show signs of workman's comp, or a
insurance,
waiver of workman's comp, and then you can't have anybody come in and help you if you do that unless they have they can't, if they don't actually work for you. And if they work for you, then they've got to be on workman's comp. And if they don't work for you, they have to have their own policies, or, you can't use them.
Yeah.
And so that was a little bit trickier. The availability of people just after COVID was tricky. I mean, we called a lot of different construction places and we were like, hey, can you come down and give us an estimate on doing this work? Here's what we want done. We don't have enough guys to do that right now. Or we're booked up through October and we don't have the manpower to take on anything extra. It was all about shortage of work, just like everybody else. Finally, one day, one of our customers that they have their business, it was disaster cleanup, kind of like have you ever heard of that? It's a big, franchise for like Service Master or anything. Oh, they go in after fires and redo a place. And I was like, and he's like, hey, if you need any help, with the new place, let me know. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, he said, we have a construction division too. Because after we clean pieces up, we got to rebuild them.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I didn't know that. You want to come over and take a look at it? I'll take you over right now. And he goes, yeah, sure. Went over, gave me a written estimate. I said, now here's the trick, because now we're, my lease was up in June and we're in February now.
Yeah.
And he goes, we can start mid-March and we can complete it by the last week of April.
That's crazy.
Let's do it.
To me, that's magic.
And that's, if I hadn't had them, I don't know, because like every place I called wasn't, and that would have been really, I don't even know where we'd be.
So you were March, done in April.
Well, it took them a week longer. First week of May.
Oh my God.
I know, right? I was happy with that.
Dude, how much was your build out?
How much was the build out?
How much did it end up
Well,
costing
the
you?
original estimate I think was for 60, and by the time we got through all the little changes that we made along the way, it ended up being around 80.
Okay. And did permitting or anything like slow you down? Was that pretty like cut? Oh my dude, I'm like living in the fucking wrong city.
Yeah.
This took a year and almost 2 years, and permitting in Los Angeles took me 6 months just to be able to even.
And is that because they're just backlogged?
They say they're backlogged, but it's like really it's like who you know, because like there was other restaurant owners that I knew, there was other people that I knew were building build outs doing permitting the
Why
same.
didn't you just get to know the right people?
Oh, it's not that easy. I got to go to like eyes wide shut parties and stuff.
Yeah.
You got to get that's our invite only. But
Yeah.
they don't make it easy. I mean, like to everybody that I hear, like California just doesn't make it easy.
Yeah.
They just don't. But
Well, so we have our own quirks, back to the infinite wisdom,
Yeah.
So like our liquor licenses, okay? Now, anybody can pretty much get a liquor license. I mean, they're not like Pennsylvania where you buy a liquor license and you own it forever and you can sell it, and
Yeah.
there's only a limited number.
Yeah.
Like you fill out your paperwork, which is literally a book. We actually hired a guy that was,
of course, I ain't doing that.
used to work for the Department of what is it, the alcohol.
Yeah,
whatever.
ABC.
Yeah. So it is we only wanted a beer and wine. Keep it simple.
Yeah,
okay?
I saw
Beer
the
and wine.
taps. Nice. Taps.
And it's $480 for 2 years. Okay.
Okay.
That's easy.
That sounds great.
But they're really backlogged, and it could take up to a year to get your license. So to help you out and get going, we'll offer you a temporary, a 3-month temporary
All right.
for only $600.
Sign me up.
$480 for 2 years, $600 for 3 months.
It's a cash grab, baby.
But if that's all it is, why not just charge me $1,200 and get the fucking thing done?
That would make way too much sense. It's like weird
So-
how things are set up.
Yeah.
So wait, you had to get it only lasts for 3 months, but what if it has to take a
So,
whole year?
which it does.
You just
so
keep
then you have to
paying it?
keep renewing it
Aha.
monthly for $100 a month.
Well, that should pay itself back pretty soon. But yeah,
That's
that's
just
bizarre.
it's just and here's the part that's aggravating. It's the same paperwork.
yeah,
If you're gonna let me sell alcohol,
that's probably why they're backlogged. Yeah,
bingo.
yeah.
That's what I say. It's like you're doing all these renewals and all this shit. That's what's taking up the time from me. And the thing is, if you're approving me for that 3 month using the same paperwork, why can't you approve me for the year?
Yeah, no, that
Well,
is-
because it takes longer to do the investigations and blah, blah, blah. Okay, but you know what? To me, it's like, so issue the license, and if something comes up, send a notice, hey, you have 90 days to correct this, or you'll lose it.
yeah.
Charge $1,200 for the license if you need the money.
I know.
If that's part of the real issue, then charge what you got to charge and do it. That's like like you charging $10 for a pizza, but the slices are going to be $8 a piece. Or no, it's not even that. It's
Good
like your
move.
whole pizza's 10, but if you add up all your which
You
do,
want it in 10 minutes?
first-
It's going to be
two slices.
it's
two
gonna be
slices.
40.
Two slices is $11.
yeah.
But I can buy the whole pizza. Yeah, but I
gonna
gotta
take
cook
longer.
the whole pizza.
Yeah, it's gonna take longer.
So you're like, but I got an oven I can do it in 90 seconds with.
Yeah.
So charge me $20. Give me the 90-second pizza. Let's get the fuck
No,
out
I
of
get
here,
it. Wow.
it's just, again,
Everything can't.
the levels of
makes
infinite
sense.
wisdom are just layered, man.
Yeah. Well, smart people are at the top. You know that? We're really well taken care of. Yeah. This government is great.
Those dumbasses are just...
Yeah. Give me your money. Give me more money.
Yeah.
What's the biggest struggle right now in your shop that you're dealing with?
At this minute, of course, labor. Now, you know, in general, it's really hasn't been that much of an issue. My wife will tell you it has, but, you know, what does she know? She just runs the store. You know, we went from 13 people on our schedule a month ago to 3 this week before we left.
Yikes. That'll make things a little tough.
Yeah.
As the store
originally we had, you know, intended to stay open while we were gone and just said, well, I guess we'll just close it up.
Yeah.
So let's take vacation instead, you know. And I hired 3 more people that will start when we get back, hopefully. And we'll hire another 3 after that, and that's really all. I mean, we were kind of overstaffed, you know, at 13, because we had 2 that were going back to school, and another one that's a teacher that just comes for the summer.
Yep.
And, you know, so we had some people that
seasonal employees.
So yeah, you know, those ones you knew were going to go on, but then we let go a manager, and then the week after that let go another manager, and so that kind of took care of the fact that, you know, we need some real help, and that's probably the biggest struggle. I can find workers.
Yeah.
It's finding people to run the workers. That's the problem. Finding
good leadership.
Finding even poor leadership is kind of a struggle. You know, anything that you would classify as actual leadership is, you know, the struggle.
Yeah. Well, I imagine you have you've probably a good expectation, having been a leader for so long in so many different places.
Yeah.
And dealing with places that all function differently but are kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would imagine that your expectation would be high, and you would have a lot of knowledge to pass down to somebody.
Right. But it's my money and I don't want to pay him, so it becomes therein lies the problem.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
I mean, you know, it's funny. I mean, I joke about that, but, you know, realistically, I mean, in order for me to make any money at all, I got to be able to find somebody who can be a leader that doesn't want, you know, $30 an hour.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, because, you know, again, you know, just like you guys were in a state that, you know, where the minimum wage is up here, and, you know, now they want to make it 17 and then 25, and you're like, they just don't understand. You know, to me, it's like the law of insanity, you know, where you keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. Well, you should know that this jumping the minimum wage is never going to work.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't. If it would have worked the first time, if that worked in order to make a living wage, it would have worked the first time. Well, it never did. There is no such thing as a living wage. I mean, there's a fantasy of living wage, but actually achieving it is not possible, because every time you bump up every time you move the bottom up on a wholesale level, it just raises the whole thing. I had written a letter to our assembly person back before we moved away from back when the minimum wage was 7, and I tried explaining it that, you know, all you're doing when you do that is dropping more people into that poor level. Because everything goes up exponentially. You know, as you know, like, it's not just your labor that goes up, because the guy at the pepperoni factory got a raise too, so your pepperoni goes up. The guy at the flour mill got a raise because the minimum wage went up, so your flour goes up, and so on and so on. So all your products go up as well. You can't raise your prices high enough to cover that, so you got to start cutting labor. So when you cut your labor, you know, because as a business owner, you have a payroll budget.
Yeah.
And as you know, going from $7.40 or what it was to 15, you know, if you have a $2,000 a week payroll budget and they double the wage, so do you just change your budget to 4,000? No.
Yeah.
Your budget is still 2,000 because your sales are still here. Yeah. Your sales, even if with all your increases, because every time you increase sales, a few people that can afford it can't afford it anymore and drop off of your sales. So your sales might actually go down a little bit. So your budget actually may go down, because it's all based on percentages. And like I said, people that aren't in business don't understand that, and people that have never been in business don't understand that. But that's exactly what happens. So as things are going up, and it makes it harder on the people that are actually in that bracket that are making minimum wage, because now for them, I was getting 40 hours a week. Well, now I'm only getting 20. Again, because if you're doubling your wage, but you still have to keep your same budget, you just have to cut the hours in half.
Yeah.
In order to equal the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And so, the person that's making that, well, I'm still going to make money by 20, so now I'm going to have to get a second job. But wait a minute, that's not all. Because now, you're getting double wage. I need twice the work done. Because I got half as many people here. The work still, all the prep still got to get done. All the pizza still got to get made.
Yeah.
So you got to work a lot harder now.
Yeah.
And then they also have to, because all the prices of everything went up. If I only stay making this amount of money that I'm making now, I can't afford this stuff anymore. I got to get a second job. So now that person has to deal with another boss, scheduling the two, which is a pain in the ass for everybody.
Yeah.
Now, in order to make the same amount, if they want to get 40 hours, they're going to have to go from this place to this place back and forth daily. It's going to cost them more stress and aggravation. And, and then let's just say that, you have a guy that's, at $7.40 an hour. He's been working for you for 4 or 5 years, and now he's making $14 an hour. He's off the bottom. And like I explained to the assembly person, I said, it doesn't matter how high you make it, whether you make it 50, make it 100, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be the bottom. And it's just how many people you're going to put on the bottom.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. And so say Johnny's, he's happy. He's making $14 an hour and everybody else is making $7.45. He's off the bottom. He's doing well. But now when you change the minimum wage to 15, Johnny gets $1 raise. He should be happy, right?
No.
Johnny's pissed. He's
Yeah.
getting the same amount of money that Jeff that just started yesterday.
Yeah, no,
Fuck you, I'm quitting.
Yeah.
Or if he stays, he's got a shit attitude because he's, he thinks you're fucking him over.
Yeah.
So he leaves, goes someplace else, finds out it's the same shit there. And now he's back on the bottom and he's pissed.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't be in the bottom. He worked hard to get off. He was a great worker. I love Johnny, but I can't pay him. I can't give him 30 now.
Yeah.
Percentage-wise for him, just like percentages for us have to stay the same, percentages of them should be able to stay the same, but you can't.
Yeah.
They'll never make that money, even working 2 jobs. They're not going to. And so more and more people fall into that bracket. And so the other thing is, too, it's like when everybody's cutting their labor, what happens to unemployment? Because we all need less people.
Yeah. Well, we have to work with less people.
Which means even when you're going out trying to find second jobs and you're going to have a tough time because all these other people that are in the same industry are doing the same thing. They're not adding people. They're, except for when they lose Johnny because he quit because he just got his $1 raise that he's mad about. But you can't fix it like that. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
In reality, it needs to go in reverse, but it'll never happen because people are too stupid. They don't understand it. All they see is more money, more money. That's like, if I'm in New York and I'm in a place where it's, cheap to live, stuff like that. And hey, I got a job for you, man. It's going to be, $20 an hour. How do you feel about it? Okay, we're going to ship you to LA now and you got to work there. Well, fuck, it's going to cost me $6,000 for an apartment.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's what happened. It's
Well, I think it's like things that look good or like they can say on paper because like obviously a higher wage is great. But when you talk about all the consequences
in and of it, right? In and of itself,
wage,
sure. If again, you ask somebody, and to give you an idea of my first job, I made $1.25 an hour. Mm-hmm. Loaf of bread was a nickel. I can buy 25 loaves of bread for my hour of work. How many can you buy today for your hour of work?
You ain't buying bread for $1.
No, exactly. A Snickers bar.
Dave's bread is like $7.
Snicker bar was a nickel, and it was the one that's the king size now. It wasn't called the king size. Then it was just a Snickers bar.
Yeah.
But then they started reducing it, and raising the price, and then they developed the king size. And it's like $3.50, $4 for a king size Snicker. But again, same thing. I used to buy 25 of those for my hour's worth of work.
Yeah.
Now you can get 4 of them. It's not about how much you get. It's about what you can buy for your money. It's the value of your money that matters. And nobody seems to understand that. And the only way to do that is stop doing what you're doing because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. It's how they control people. You know, politicians can say, "Oh, we're going to give you more money. We're going to give you more money. We're going to give you more. We'll give you free money." But the end results of those things are exactly what's going to harm those actual people. But they don't understand it because they're not educated on money and finances and everything else. We don't teach that stuff in schools. Because if we did, things would be very different for those people at the top, and they don't want that to happen.
No, I get that. I mean, but it's like obviously 2 is better than 1, and so people see the higher number. And you're right. It's like there's a lot. It's a loaded thing to get more money. But it's like,
trick.
oh yeah,
it's a trick
it's
answer.
A trick. You're right. I do believe in a standard that but the regulation is, and a lot of stuff in California kind of just gets passed on to a small business owner, and it's like, how am I supposed to afford this? How am I supposed to do business when my margins are already so thin?
They want to treat everything like, they put too many things in the same basket.
Yeah.
Even when you look at, you get people all riled up about, these terrible corporations. The people that say that are people who don't have any money. People that have a little bit of money and have a 401k and all that stuff, they understand we need to have the corporations because guess what? That's what my 401k is investing in. They say, X company made, $4 billion. They don't really understand what that means. They see that.
They see the number.
They see the number, 4 billion profit. But what they don't understand is like, okay, but we also have 4 billion stockholders. They each got $1. Is that too much money?
Yeah.
Now, what the part that is bad that I think needs to be adjusted, 2 things. And I said in my letter too that I would support a minimum, what do I call it? Longevity advance. So, leave minimum wage rate because, like I said, we're not going backwards. We can't go back to $5 an hour like we should. That would fix things. But if it's 15 now, leave it. Don't fuck with it anymore. Leave it at 15, okay? But then mandate that somebody that's been there for a year has to get 16. Somebody that's been there 3 years has to get 18. After 5 years, they've got to get 21.
It's like a lease.
But again, but then this way, people will actually get off the bottom.
Yeah.
Your business can absorb these small, and also it can do things. It averts that sociological piss off when somebody gets off the bottom and you jump everybody up. And if you're only jumping up people for longevity, then he's not making the same as the guy made yesterday.
Yeah.
So you can reward those for staying, which helps us, the small business, because that's one of the things. If labor's our hardest fight, it's when we have somebody that we've trained for 2 years and they leave. Maybe they'll stay now because they know they're going to get these. Now, and you say, well, why don't you just implement those policies by yourself? Because I can do that. But after Johnny's worked from 7 to up to 14, you come in, you swoop in and fucking change it to 15 and everything up again.
Yeah.
You have to leave it. That's the base of things. You have to leave the base, be the base, and stop jump. Because every time you do, you're just putting people back into it.
Yeah. I know it's there to protect people because there are assholes who will take advantage of. But there already is people still
and
people are being still taken advantage of, even with such a high wage.
Absolutely,
like people still get taken advantage of.
I agree, and that's why I said so. Do it where they can actually get off the bottom.
Yeah,
because all you're doing, don't make everybody pay for your mistakes.
Yeah.
If you don't understand how money works, don't make, because they don't either, don't make them follow along with you because, it helps keep you in power. And I really feel, I think most people feel the same way now is that politicians are no longer doing things for the good of the people. They all say, I'm doing things for the American people. No, you're not.
No, they're doing
You're
it for
doing
their
things for
401k.
Self-preservation, man.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is about self-preservation. I'm going to say whatever I got to say to get reelected and this and that. It's like,
yeah.
Silly.
It is silly. You wrote a book.
I did.
How did you always want to write a book? How long did the book take you?
The book took me about three and a half years altogether. It was a personal goal. I just wanted to do it for myself. It wasn't like, I could probably get rich if I write a book.
Of course.
But so I started the project. First of all, you're gun-ho and you got all these ideas, and then you realize, wow, it's only 30 pages. I got to come up with some more stuff. But let's see, I'm out of information. It's out of my head right now, everything I had in my head. But then, like, you'll be going along and you'll be doing things like, hey, oh, yeah, this, I got to talk about this, too. And you go and you say, and then you've got this big, incohesive bunch of stuff after 3 years. It's just, like, all over. And now you got, all right, now I got to make it make sense.
Yeah, put it together.
Got to put it in some kind of realistic order, not just as my thoughts come, let's put it in and do this. And then I went and I had Liz Barrett edit it. She was the former editor at PMQ magazine. And I met her on a pizza cruise years ago.
Ooh, that sounds sick.
Yeah.
A pizza cruise?
Oh, yeah, it was
nice.
a lot of fun. So then... Yeah. So anyway, the book is called A Pizza My Life. It's available on Amazon. It's cheap. You should just go buy it. And
$14.95. Everyone go cop that book.
There you go. And it's about a couple different things. It's about, first of all, a little bit of my biography and what I went through to get where I am. And then a little bit about suggestions on how to go about doing things yourself to make things better. I talk a lot about my mistakes, things that I did wrong that, hey, stay away from doing this because this is what's going to hurt you. And then I give, advice on what to do, the right way to do things. And also the differences between when we started in 1995 and what's going on now going into 2025. Like I said, when we first started, there was no social media. There wasn't even an internet, really.
Yeah.
So, and to talk about things like online ordering, which we started in 1997.
Dial up.
And it's now not even that wasn't even an issue. We had just people that was so new. We were the first pizzeria in anywhere near. I think we started maybe even before Domino's started it. But one of the things was, because people never dealt with something like that before, we had a local provider, internet provider, hook us up with some software to, what it did was like, it would place the order and, online, of course, on our website, you would place the order and then it would convert it to an email and send it back. We had our laptop sitting there, and ding, you have mail. So we open it up and we would write it down on our, because we that was even before we had a POS system, and we would write the thing down, we'd make it, deliver it, etc., and everybody's happy, right? Well, until one weekend where we started getting people come in, hey, I'm here to pick up my order, and like, we don't have an order for that. And it's like, go over there, look at the no emails, nothing. It's like, oh, all right, well, what was it? We make it, and so okay, here you go. And we're like, we're not sure if it's they're all supposed to be paid for online, but we're like, so now we get a call. Hey, when's my pizza gonna get here? I ordered it over an hour ago. We don't have an order for you. Well, all right, what's the, so we take, it probably happened like 9 orders that night. Again, it was new, so it wasn't, people weren't as comfortable as they are today. But, so on Monday morning, of course, like I said, this was a Friday, Saturday night, so there's nobody there. They work 9 to 5 at the provider. So I call them up first thing Monday morning. It's like, hey, we had a bunch of people say it, and he's like, oh, let me check. And he goes, oh yeah, they're in the queue there. He said, we did maintenance on the email server this week, so we had shut it down. I go, well, you can't shut that down. You have to shut them both down if you're going to do that. You can't leave the one that takes the orders and not
Sounds
and
like
shut down the one. And
sounds like Revention.
It's like I said, we're not shoes, all right? It's not like
sounds like Hunger Rush in 2025.
Online ordering that they had dealt with is like, other products where you order it and you get it in 2 weeks, whatever.
Ship it. Yeah, you need those live. You need those.
So it didn't matter to anybody else. And we were the only pizzeria that was doing this, so they had nothing like it.
Yeah.
So they didn't think, like the way I think. And so we're like, all right, well, all right, we'll make sure we never do that again, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, like the following Wednesday, I made order, it's just sitting there on the oven, sitting there and it was coming. And then one of our drivers calls us up from a phone booth back then. And he's like, hey, I just took this pizza over at, 12 Main Street, and he said he didn't place an order. And then we called the guy that hadn't come for his food there. And he said, I didn't place an order today. And I got another driver calling up, hey, these people didn't place. I'm like, what the fuck? Turns out it was all those orders that had come in from the Friday are finally getting pushed through the email system. We're like, okay, we got to just shut this down for a little while.
A little too early, maybe.
We just got to shut this down until somebody works the bugs out. So it was probably 5 years before we got back into it and got going, but it was
you're on the cutting edge, dude.
It was anyway. They put we were on the front page of the local paper. Got a lot of business off of that.
My first delivery job was 2003, and I remember online ordering still looked pretty fucking like it was from like 1985 the way that things came in. Mm-hmm. So I feel like even in 2015 when you were getting like you had to have that fax machine.
Right.
And it would print out the E24 orders and Hunger Rush I'm not Hunger Rush, but Grubhub and shit. Like it's come a long way now. Do you do a lot of delivery out of the house?
We don't deliver ourselves.
Yeah, you do third party?
The only thing we do is third party, yeah.
Yeah, no one delivers anymore. All right, dude, I got one last question for you. Who's the greatest recording artist or band of all time? I know you just saw Def Leppard, Journey, and who was the other band?
Steve Miller Band.
Steve Miller Band. What a great concert that would have been at SoFi.
It is. Greatest. Define greatest.
To you. Maybe I always think, who do I listen to more than anyone else?
Yeah, well, see, now that's a whole different, who I listen to, who I think is the greatest. It's all about, okay, so what's my definition of greatest?
Of course.
And that changes, again, depending on the scale. Who do I think is the greatest, statistically, obviously I'm a big Beatles fan from way back. And
statistically, they are probably the greatest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So, on all levels, you got to say them. But then you look at a lot of other things, it's like, who do I really like listening to more? And I'd say, Dave Grohl.
All right.
With all the things that he's, Neil Young is credited with being the godfather of grunge, actually. But, and which, again, that's another, a lot of these ones are very high on my list. But, so you say greatest. And you say, well, who's the greatest as far as, like, who do I like to listen to the most? That changes every month.
Yeah, well, good.
I
think that's good.
It just constantly changes. Started with Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons for me, and ends up with along the way we hit the Sex Pistols and all those kind of things. And I just not into country or rap. Anything else though is
I'm
fair game.
Pretty hard with country right now.
Roger Waters is
nice,
phenomenal.
Great live.
That's and that's just one of those things that it's like that's like saying, well, who's the great or not who, but what's the greatest pizza?
I know these things don't exist. That's why I always try to say,
but it's funny,
the greatest to you.
But again, to me, even if you ask me what's the greatest pizza,
well, next time I have you on, I hope that it's different. Yeah,
not necessarily pizza, not necessarily even style, or even style. Just like, well, today it might be tavern, tomorrow it might be Sicilian. And
I know this guy. We didn't even get to talk to about it because we're running out of time. But this guy is a master competitor. I'm talking about you.
Oh.
I've seen you do all kinds of styles. I went head to head with him with gluten-free. His gluten-free looked like freaking madness. And then he told me the story about how fucking crazy it was. But you're doing it all, and it's all looking great, man.
A lot of fun.
I thank you for
Living
taking
the
the
dream,
time. Thank
man.
you for taking the time and coming here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And be sure and go out and buy that book,
And everyone,
Amazon.
Go get that book, dude,
A Pizza My Life.
by George Taylor. Dude, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much.
I wanna go down.